Hi, my name is Sadie. Well, it's Mercedes, but everybody calls me Sadie because my mom calls me Sadie, and I like it. I really like Mercedes. Some of my family calls me Murky, which is kind of, I don't know, not cute. But my brother called me Murky, and some close friends call me Murky, and like my family calls me Murky. So um, I am 26. I work for a really good company, a fast food place. They're really amazing. Um, that's a lot of what I'm doing right now, just a lot of work. Outside of work, I'm a mom. I'm a full time mom. Have a lot of fun with that kid. Her name's Ava. She's 5. She's amazing. So that's my place that I go to when I'm over a ton of work and I just have a lot going on. She keeps me focused on just everything that's good and everything that I should be enjoying. Right now, it's just me and her. It's been that way for a long time. So it's just her and I, and we like to go on little adventures. I like taking her places. I like keeping her entertained and doing things, and I'm very like big on keeping her learning and just experiencing things. I feel like that's how you should always live your life. So like if she learns that now, I want her to, you know, instill that in her now. If she learns how to, you know, be adventurous now, then I feel like when she gets older, she's not going to be scared to try new things or go out and live life the way it should be lived. Because I think that you should just enjoy it while you're here and try everything. I love going to concerts because I love music, and I feel like that definitely music is one thing that, you know, you can meet anybody and you can really, for the most part, connect with them. I know that there's some people that may not like specifically the genre, but I'm pretty sure anybody that you meet likes music. They may not like exactly what you like, but you know, it's a common thing. You know, usually you go here and see what you like, and those bring back great memories, or you make new wonderful memories. And right now, for me, memories are they're good. I have a lot of good memories, luckily, and I've had a lot of chances to make some really great new ones. This is not going how I planned it to be. Maybe I should start over again, Eric. Maybe we should just do a new video. I feel like I'm like, what am I on, a dating thing right now? Like I'm explaining things that I like and I don't like. Nah, I'm gonna start over again. Okay. I took some time off from school. I was a student for a while. I was doing part-time school, and then like 2 part-time jobs. But with my daughter, it just I was just taking too much time away from her. So I decided to hold off on school for the next couple semesters and just work full time at my current job, um, which I think it was a good idea. It was a good call for now. I decided to do this recovery session because Eric is one of my longest friends. He's a really close friend. Eric has been through pretty much like all the big things, all the big deals in my life that have happened to me. He may not have necessarily been like right next to me during each event, but he was always a presence, and he knew me since I was like 15 or 16. We met at church. Pretty much anything he does, I support. I don't know that there's any big thing that he has done that I haven't been like, oh, I don't want to, you know, I don't want to be involved in that, because pretty much everything he does, like, I wouldn't mind being involved in. We have something that just connects us, and it's pretty cool. And so when I watched his video, when he initially asked me about this, I was like, okay, you know, I feel like for me, any opportunity to help somebody else through something difficult is a good one. For me, I know that the things that I've been through have been, you know, they were tough, and I think I'm a pretty tough girl. I think, and I think I handled situations pretty well. But I know that there are girls that are my age and girls that are younger, and just people, even guys that go through things similar to what I've been through, and it throws you for a loop. It's nice to be in somebody else's shoes for a minute and think like, what would I do in that situation? Um, I don't know. At the end of the day, I just think that it's good to put it out there in case somebody can use it and somebody wants to like hear something that makes them be like, oh wow, I can do that too. Not that I did anything great or amazing or anything like that, but just like different way of thinking. I'm sorry if I'm wasting your time and you're watching this. Sorry. My family was a very close family. We're very, very, very close family, I think. It was just me, my mom, my dad, and my little brother. My brother's like 4 years younger than me. My mom was a single mom for a long time. I think it was only till I was 12. Did she meet my dad, and he adopted my brother and I, and we took his last name, and he took care of us. He's been our dad ever since then. It was really surprising to have somebody like care about you and like be like, oh, I'm gonna take you guys out, just me and my brother, to go watch a movie. And it was like, oh wow. We had never had like a guy be like, yeah, let's go do something together. And we were like, okay. And so that's kind of how, we started, or like we were introduced, and was all of us going out together. And then, he would take me and my brother, and then he asked us if he could marry my mom, and we were like, yeah, of course. And then after they got married, he asked us if he could, like adopt us. Like he asked me and my brother, and we're like 12 and 8 or 13 and 9 or something. And like we were really excited about it. We were like, oh my gosh, this is like super cool. So he bought us a house and he moved us out to Lake Elsinore. We would get home from school, just him and I again, and we would just like watch TV and dance to music videos and make dinner and do our own thing. Like I'm like 13, 14, all the way till we, were older. We just, for a while, that's just how it was. Like we would get home from school and we would just chill, like, and then like an hour before my parents came home, we would like clean the house. Like we would go crazy, just like picking crap up and like closing the door, and like it just, we would even do their room. We would like make their bed and stuff, like, because we were like, well, at least they're not gonna get mad at us if we clean the room. Like we ate 20,000 pizza rolls, but they're not gonna say anything because their room's clean. So then my parents were like, okay, well, we're gonna have another kid. And along came my little sister. I was 16 years old when she was born, and it was just the coolest thing ever. It's like, for the longest time, like, it was just me and my brother. Never thought that, like, I would get to have, like, another brother or sister. My mom kind of, she got the baby blues. And, my mom's a really attractive woman. And I think that it really, it hit her really hard when she didn't bounce back as quickly as she did with both my brother and I. Because, my brother is, I don't know, my mom had, like, a six-pack even after my brother. She just, like nothing. It was crazy. And I thought that was normal. I thought, like, everybody did that. I thought just, people just have babies and then they look like models after. So after my sister, I think that was really difficult for her. So, again, like, as close as we were as a family, when one of us would go through something, like, we would all go through it. Like, I remember when I had my first heartbreak, like, my dad was in the room, like, practically crying with me. And it was horrible. It was miserable. And I remember my brother was just like, so like angry. So yeah, we're all in it together. I graduated from school early, so that happened, and I was, I started my job, and I was kind of like, kind of an adult at 16. I would give my parents like $200 in rent. I was paying them back for my car. They like bought me like a little Honda Civic, so I'd give them like money for that every month. And I was like paying my own car insurance, my own phone. So it's kind of like, taking care of my own responsibilities. I wanted to be closer to my sister the way that my brother was, because I feel like he kind of got to be like closer with her, and like he was always like holding her and like playing with her, and I don't know. I feel like I took that personally. Like I felt like my mom didn't want me to be that close to her, and so I felt like, well, then I'll just do my own thing, and it kind of like hurt me. Like I really wanted to be like, you know, her big sister and like go down the slide with her. But my brother was kind of more that person for her, and that was, I don't know if maybe that's where like a rift kind of started with me and my mom. But as I got older, I I saw our family kind of form a little bit differently. My brother was getting into his teenage years, and I was becoming more of an adult. You know, I didn't have school. I was going to college, and I was working, and that was just it. I was super busy like all the time. Like I would be at work, I'd be at school, or now that I was older and I didn't have like high school, because for my high school time, I actually was homeschooled. So was my brother. I was very independent because of all of this stuff, you know, going to school, doing all that. And it just came to a point where my mom and I got into a big old argument because it was like my birthday and some friends were over. She got mad because I was on my phone, and she felt like I was giving her attitude because I was on my phone and I was ignoring her story that she was telling my friends. So, which I kind of was, to be honest, because I just felt like it's my birthday, like just let me have my moment. Let me just hang out with my friends. And I kind of got a little irritated with her and thing, whatever she was talking about. She was telling her story, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, I'm just gonna sit on my phone. And then she was like, give me your phone. And I was like, no, I'm not giving you my phone. And she was like, give me your phone. And I'm like, I pay for my phone. I don't want to give you my phone. It was literally my 18th birthday. And she was like, give me your, and I was like, okay, mom, like, here's my phone. Because it was like I was arguing a good point, but I shouldn't have been arguing. I wasn't really arguing. It was kind of like a little bit more of back talk, but not, I don't know. I knew to respect my parents. My mom was huge on that. So it was always a very, very, you know, even if I said, but I pay for my phone, choosing my words carefully, which is what I did, that was not okay. That wasn't okay with my parent. That wasn't okay with my mom. There was no really like freedom. There's no freedom of like saying how you feel. It was what my mom said went. My dad was a lot more lenient. My dad was a lot more respectful towards our feelings and towards what we thought. But at the end of the day, it was really what my mom wanted. So she took my phone, she took my purse and my car keys, pretty much everything. And I remember being in my room just like, I cannot believe this is happening, and crying because I was like, I was independent in the way that I knew that I could get through whatever I had to get through. Strong-willed, like my mom. But I was very young in that, like, I was still a kid, and I was very much under my mom's thumb, and I didn't know how to think for myself completely, because my mom was my mom, and I was used to, you know, what she said went. And so I remember crying. I knew that I deserved some sort of respect, not because I was 18, but because I was giving her respect, and because I wasn't doing anything wrong. At the end of the day, I wasn't. I was just on my phone. I was maybe a little bit upset at that I wasn't paying attention to her story, but like not enough to go and take like all this stuff away. And especially when my whole thing was like, I paid for that myself. I didn't ask her for anything. I did it on my own. So thinking those things when I was 18 years old was like, okay, always since I was little was suck it up. You just deal with it. That's your mom. That's just how it is. That's what's going to be. Then the next day she came into my room and she was still mad. I thought it would blow over. She was still mad that I wasn't paying attention to her and that I was giving her such attitude. And she said, if I don't like it, then I can just leave. And I was like, fine, I'm going to leave. I'm going to leave because I in my heart knew that I deserved respect. I was a child. Yes, I was 18 years old. But the way that I am with my daughter is that you're a human being, you're a person. How can you teach somebody to give respect if you don't give them anything of respect? I just don't, I don't get that. I left. I put everything on my bed sheet that I could get, that I could grab. My CDs, my clothing. I didn't even get a trash bag because I didn't use trash bags because they were her trash bags. I didn't try to leave as much of stuff that they had purchased me. So I didn't take my bed, I didn't take anything. I had a Honda Civic. I couldn't fit anything in there. And thank God by that time I had already paid them the money back that I had owed them for it. So, it was my car. Threw everything in my car. And that thing was like so dragging. And I went to my friend's house. It was about a good summer before I stood there for summer basically. And my dad called me and he was like, Mom's really missing you and, she really wants to talk to you. The whole time that I was gone, being as close of a family as we were, I didn't really see my brother and I didn't get to see my sister. And it broke my heart to not be able to be around them because really close to them. So that was horrible. Even now thinking about it, not being able to see them was really tough on me for that time. Because I feel like it was such a big, my brother was 14, he's going through so much. My little sister, she was maybe 2, about 2, and I wasn't around for any of that. And so I talked to my mom, and she was like, I really want to come home. I miss you. And I was like, okay, I'll come home. I went home, and that didn't last very long. And within the time that I was gone and the time that I came home, I started dating somebody. And the person that I was dating was probably the only person that didn't tell me that my parents were right. In fact, it was more like your parents are stupid. And hearing that was kind of like, wow. Somebody's on my team. And I didn't really have a solid, best friend at the time. I had good friends, really good friends, obviously, to let me stay with them for a summer. But I didn't have, somebody that said, families go through this. Your parents might not be 100% right, but they're your parents, and, you need to figure this out. I didn't have somebody to give me the best overall advice. It was just very you shouldn't listen to your parents. They don't know what they're talking about. Yeah, my parents may have been a little far off. My mom mostly been a little extreme, super dramatic, but they still loved me and they still, did what they thought was right. And, maybe mom did, may not have been. Nobody's perfect, basically. Nobody's perfect. And I didn't have anybody to tell me that. I didn't have anybody to say, listen, parenting is a really tough thing and, put me in sort of their perspective or keep me at least, I had somebody that I was dating that was telling me that I was right about everything, as in I don't need them, I can do this on my own. And yeah, I could do it on my own, but should I have been at 18 years old? No, I shouldn't have. I just shouldn't have. I should have been with my parents or close to them or near them or just at least talking to them. So I went back to live with my parents for a little bit, still dating this person. And it just got to be a lot again at my parents' house. It just got to be, my mom was still going through those baby blues hard. And I think my mom lost herself. And I think she was really trying to find herself again. And when your parent is trying to find themselves, and so are you, at 18 years old, it's really hard to do. So I left again. And I started renting a room but I did it in a good way this time. It wasn't in a bad way. It was in a good way. I left on a good note. And I decided this time I just didn't want to go back. You know, I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to leave and come back again, because if I was going to make the decision to be an adult on good terms, then I needed to follow through with that. And I thought that was the right thing to do. So I started renting out a room from this older lady that I worked with. And I really loved being by myself. I really loved having my own little place to go and working and going to school. And I was still dating this guy. And I thought, like, wow, you know, I don't know, I was just young, and I had this idea in my head that you can date somebody and you can be with them forever if you really tried. You work for a forever thing. You work for something that continues. What I forgot about that part was that you need to actually get along with that person and have things in common with that person. And I feel like the biggest thing that we had in common was that we both thought my parents were, well, not all the time did I think that, but thought my parents didn't, you know, really have it together. And he was different than what I knew. His background was different than what I knew. His upbringing was different a lot than what mine was. So it was just all different. I didn't realize then that you need to have like something solid. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, okay, we're young, we're getting along. I'll just stay with you forever. I really thought that for a long time. You can just make the decision to do that. I ended up moving in with him at his parents' house, which was such a bad idea. Probably the toughest 6 months of my life, because again, his upbringing was so different. I tried my hardest to like fit in, and because I wanted to be accepted, and I wanted, like, I guess I wanted some like family back. And I had my family, but it wasn't what it used to be. And so it was that way for a while. Him and I, probably a good 6 months. And then I was like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. Like, I'm moving out. If you want to come with me, then you can come with me. If you don't, then stay here. That's fine. But I'm moving out regardless of whatever. So I basically forced him to move out because he didn't want me to go, or he didn't want to stay. Whatever the reason was, he just was going to follow along. So I was like, fine, you can come with. We found a studio apartment. We moved in there. I had transitioned to another job. And I was actually working with my dad at Time Warner. So I got to see my dad a lot more, and it was really nice. And my parents didn't really like him. My dad never really came out and said it. My brother never told me, but he was so, like, standoffish. Like, he would be cool, but, like, he was not. I know him. And I know that when he likes somebody, he'll want to hang out with them, or he'll want to, like, talk to them. And he was never like that. And I feel like I should have, like, honed in on that. In my head, again, my mentality was that I had picked this person and I couldn't change it. Picked this person that I was going to be with, and I couldn't change it. And I didn't really like a lot of the things that were happening. The things that were fun to him weren't fun to me. The things that I love to do, he didn't approve of. For instance, I was very active in church prior to meeting him. In fact, that's where I met Eric. And I remember him telling me that he doesn't like when I go to church because that's where people go to meet other people. And I was like, that's where I go to be closer to God. Like, that's where I go. That is my happy place, always. Because that's where everything's clear to me. That's where, no matter how crazy anything in this whole entire world is, that's where everything is clear and everything makes sense. Everything is right. And I can find a focus and I can say, help me with this, because I don't know what to do. And I feel better. And I didn't have my parents. I didn't have that. I didn't have a best friend. It was just this guy. So I didn't go to church for a long time. And I felt like I was getting farther and farther away from who I was. And then I remember I was like 20 years old, and I was thinking like, I really want to have a baby. I really wanted to be a young mom. I didn't realize how young 20 was, because I felt older because I graduated when I was 15 years old. So I felt like I had a lot of experience, which I did. I had a lot of like, working in school and, book knowledge. A lot of issues that I thought I had dealt with well with my family. But 20 is still young, no matter what you think. Unless you are 20 years old, then you think that it's not young. I remember talking to him about it and saying like, before I talked to him, I remember thinking, do I want to have a kid with this person? Do I think he's going to be a good dad? And I thought, yeah, he'll be a good dad. And then I thought, am I going to be with him? Do I think I'm going to be with him forever? And then I remember this exact moment, like thinking like, well, even if I don't stay with him, he's still going to be a good dad. So, and I think that mentality came from my mom just being like a single mom. And, my mom handling things on her own. And I knew I could handle things on my own. So I should have realized at that moment that if I'm thinking, am I going to be with this person forever? And I'm telling myself, probably not. Then why didn't I just break up with him? I'll tell you why. Because I got my daughter. And honestly, I never felt like a complete person because I always knew I wanted to be a mom. And I think she really, really, really lets me be the best part of me. She really lets me enjoy the parts that I know. I grew up taking care of my brother a lot. So not having that somebody to take care of was really like, I didn't realize it then. And I realize it now that I missed that. I'm good at that. I'm good at taking care of people. I like it. I love being her mom. And, I think that was my solution. Really, really, really sometimes, like, in retrospect, think, maybe I should not have had a kid. But I can't ever say that. I can never say that. Because my path was to have my child. My path has always been being her mom. Being a mom. Even if that means that I'm by myself forever, then so be it. Because I am such, like, myself. That's just part of me. And I think I've always known that. And I don't know. I could have been somewhere different. Could I have waited? Yeah. Would I have had Ava? I don't know if God would have given me her at a different time. Would I have learned all the things? Would I be? I don't know. But I love having her. 2009 comes, I have a baby. The end of 2009, December 12th, 2009. Ended up having like preeclampsia because I was so stressed out. Like I was just so stressed out. So I had to have an emergency C-section. Like legit doctors would not let anybody in because they thought I was going to die on the table. I was like, dramatic, come on. So I had Ava and I was really happy about it. A little Christmas baby. And I just really dove into that. I didn't go back to work. I stayed home for like a year. And I got to just be a mom. And as I'm being this mom, I'm seeing things that are happening in my relationship with her dad, that I was like, I don't like this. I really, really don't like this. Not only do I not feel like myself, but I don't feel like I'm an example that I want my daughter to grow up to be like. So I was like, we need to go to counseling. Tried counseling. He didn't even want to go. I would go and I would just try to figure out what I was doing. As a cohesive family, it wasn't what I wanted for a family. It wasn't enough for me. I didn't feel like we weren't married, but I didn't feel like I had a person that I would want to be my husband. But I convinced myself that I had to keep working towards it. This was the option, especially now. Like, I don't know why every time I second guessed it, I was like, go in deeper. No, 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 don't turn back. More, more, more. To the point that if I do not marry him, I'm going to leave him. I remember telling my dad, hey, Dad, do you think you can meet us at the courthouse? If you can't, I'll have Anthony, my brother, meet me there. I was thinking, like, he could just meet us there. And then my dad was like, okay, yeah, I'll meet you there. So I remember we planned for like 3 o'clock or something like that. And I remember like 12 o'clock rolled around. It was just like during the week, just the courthouse, get it done. Because I thought, this was my mentality. And I remember telling my dad this. It would just make things so much easier, like, you know, bill-wise, like insurance-wise, all that stuff. It would just be so much easier. And my dad was like, you sound like you're making like a business deal. Like you guys are business partners. And I was like, well, you know, Dad, just be there. I'm still in my pajamas. Literally still in my pajamas. Hair's a mess. And then 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, I'm sitting at my desk. And I don't even know what I was doing, but I just remember, I think I was sewing or something. And then, like, he's walking around the house. And I knew that, like, if I wanted to get it done, I would have to be like, hey, go get ready. Let's go do this. And then 3 o'clock rolls around. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, shit, I could be getting married right now. Thank God I'm not getting married right now. Like, I just remember feeling such relief and feeling so happy that I didn't do that. I was like, and then that's when I was like, oh shit. Oh shit. Oh. And then everything started going like slowly. There was a reason why I didn't want to do that. There was all these things, like I just remember thinking about him and thinking like, I am not in love with this person. I care about him. We could be friends. But even then, if we had not dated, I don't know that I would have been friends with him. Like, he's so different from me that we don't have anything common. Like, nothing. Like, except for my daughter. And before that, it was just like this. He was so different than I was that I went there. I gravitated towards that. He was very like to fight and like to argue, and that was something different to me. That's just not really, that wasn't really who I was. I'm pretty feisty girl now, but I really grew a thick layer of skin being with him because of how he was. I think that I thought that helped me to deal with my parents and to not hurt, and to deal with like just issues with my mom. So yeah, so that slowly deteriorated in my head. Again, I was going to counseling, and it got to a point where I told him a couple times, you know, I am not happy with you. I'm not happy with this. If you want to still try and make this work, we can go to counseling together. Again, we can. He never went in the first place, but you know, he can go with me and we can try to figure this out. I still thought that like it could be saved. I don't know why I thought it would work out in the first place, but I thought that it could be saved. I'm not really a quitter, you know. I had a kid with this person. Again, I was really big in, you know, my faith, and I always thought that, you know, I mean, getting married before you have a kid would have been ideal, but I was all backwards and young and not in my, I didn't have the right foundation to have made those decisions. I think he kind of took it as a joke. Like, he didn't really think that I was serious. And then one day we got into yet another argument, and I remember he like broke a like closet door, and my daughter was off to the side. She didn't see it, but I know she heard it. She was like a year old, and I'm literally standing there watching this by the refrigerator, and I remember thinking, like, I am not going to keep my daughter in this situation. I do not want my daughter growing up thinking that this is an example of a relationship that you should be in. This is not an example of love. This is not an example of anything to strive for as far as marriage goes. And I wasn't even married to him. And so I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do this. Like, I'm not happy. And then that was really the last straw. And so, things continued on. I didn't tell him. And I kind of like was trying to figure out, I think, when the right time to say something was. And then I remember one day, like, oh gosh, I was driving to go get my hair done. I went to this place that was near where we were living. And at the time we purchased a home together in Hemet, and I went out to like some place. They happened to be closed. And I remember sitting in front of there and I just started crying. I started crying, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Like, what am I going to do? I was like, why am I so upset? Why am I so upset about this? And I was like, I need to get a job. I need to get a job. And I remember calling him, and I was like, I don't think we should be together. And again, he like dismissed it, and I was like, okay, like, I'm gonna get a job, and like, we can keep trying, but I don't know how really I feel about this. So I got a job, and I feel like I started finding myself again. I started working back with the company I'm working with now. I worked with when I was a teenager, where we had met. When I started working there again, it was kind of like something inside me remembered who I was by being there. And I was really happy. Like, I was like, hey, there I am. That's me. And I was like, I really missed who I am. I really missed the girl that just was herself and didn't worry about not wearing hoop earrings, because hoop earrings are what dirty girls wear. What? What does that even mean? So I was like, I'm gonna be me again. And I remember a lot of days driving home crying, thinking like, I have to break up with somebody that I built a life with, and that everybody told me was the wrong person. Basically, I was crying because I was gonna look stupid, and I wasn't gonna get the happy ending because I chose the wrong person. Which I knew I chose the wrong person, but I was just sad that like I was gonna have to admit all of that and just look stupid and not have like the start to finish ideal happy ending. And I didn't really want to hurt him because I know he did care about me, And I felt really bad. I felt really, really bad. But I was not happy. And he knew it. He knew I wasn't happy the whole time. Like, he just didn't, I don't know. I think at the end of the day, if I knew somebody wasn't happy with me, I wouldn't want them to be with me. If I cared about somebody, I would want them to be with the person that they're happy with. At the end of the day, that's just what I think. I could love somebody till the end of time, but I know that if they were happier with somebody else and not me, that's what I want for them. I remember him coming home from work one day, and I just told him, like, I cannot be with you anymore. Like, I don't want this anymore. And again, he thought I was kidding, and I was like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, from now on, like, I am not with you anymore. This is it. I'm not, like, I have told you a million billion times. I've told you, like, this is just not what I want. And he was kind of like, okay, we'll see how that works. And I'm like, okay. Like, I remember, since we did, live out in Hemet, like, I moved my stuff into, like, the spare room, and I was there. I was like, okay, I need to figure out, like, when I'm moving, what's going on. I remember going and visiting my parents, and telling them. My mom was like, why? Like, you have a family with him, and blah, blah, blah. And I was really surprised. Like, I was really surprised that my mom was like, my dad didn't honestly, my dad didn't have too much to say about it. But my mom was like, no, like, you need to think about this, and you guys have a good, all of a sudden he's her best friend when, like, legit they had some crazy, like, blowouts to each other. And I was kind of like sad because I needed somebody to tell me, like, I missed you and I'm glad that you're back and do you. And my mom did say that, but then not really, like she was like, yeah, you should be happy, girl power stuff. But then she was like, you really need to think about it and you should really be with him because you have all of this life built together. And I was like, no, no, no way. I wasn't doing it. I knew what I wanted. I'm the kind of person where once I decide, that's it. Like, once that, I am an indecisive person, but once that decision is made for me, it's done. I made the decision. That's it. I thought about it for so long and I worked so hard to get myself to do it. And when I finally did it and I didn't get the reaction that I thought I would, I didn't get the support, not reaction, the support that I thought I would, I was like, okay, I'm still doing it. This is still my decision. I'm still going to be happy. That's what my goal was, to be happy, to show my daughter that, to possibly show my daughter what love looks like, what a real family is. And if not, with somebody, with us, with her and I, with a family, to show her what healthy is. If I wasn't going to give her, in the future I don't meet the person I'm supposed to be with, fine. But I don't want her seeing a poor, a poor example of what love and a family is. I'm not going to give her that. I'm not going to give her something that is not the right thing. So, knowing that she deserves that, I told myself I deserve that also. I deserve that regardless of what my mom says and what my dad says and what anybody says. I deserve to be happy. I was like hoping that my parents were going to let me like come back and like stay with them. And so, I was kind of like working towards that. But it was really hard because I had a 1-year-old and, he obviously was her dad and he was used to seeing her every day. And I didn't want to hurt him in that way of like being a dad. So I stood there for a little bit and I remember one night I heard my phone ringing. I picked it up. It was my mom, but my dad was on the phone. And I was like, hey, Dad. And he was like, hey, I need you to come over. And I heard like cops in the background. And I heard my mom say, he has allergies. And I was like, oh shit, she's talking about my brother. I think I knew. And my dad was like, I was like, are you okay? And he didn't sound okay. And I was like, I'll be right over. I was like, he's like, yeah. He's like, hurry, but be careful. I remember getting up out of bed, like in the movies, you know how like vampires like arise, I got up like that and I don't remember actually walking. Like I feel like I glided into Luis's room, to the master bedroom. And I was crying and I don't even remember when I started crying, but I was crying and I was like, I need to go, I need to leave. And I told him and he was like, what? I was like, I think Anthony died. And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I need to leave right now. My parents just called me. He's like, what happened? He's like, not awake. I'm not even fully awake. I was like, I have to go watch Ava. I grabbed my keys and I left. And I just was crying, driving down the street. And I was like, they didn't tell me that on the phone, but I knew, like, I just felt it. There's no reason why they would call me in the middle of the night. There's no reason why that would happen. And then so I was sitting like 3 blocks from the house at a stoplight. And I was thinking, like, God, please, like, if he died, give me peace. Like, if he died, because I couldn't help it, like, I was crying, breathing, like, and I knew I needed to get to my parents' house. I couldn't pull over and just, like, sit. So I was, like, crying. I was like, God, please, if he died, please bring peace to my heart. And I remember just feeling like it's in the middle of the night, there's no cars around. And I could hear like the silence of the night, all consuming. And I'm sitting at the stoplight and I just like feel it. Like you just, it's like you feel death. You feel this eerie silence. And I can't explain it except to just like, it's loud. I think that's when I accepted it. I really do. I think that's when I was like, okay, I need to get to my parents. I was like always the strong one. My brother he was always my counter, you know, like I would always run things past him because I felt like if I would get snippy or something, he would be like, you really need to watch it. Like we balance each other out. If he got a certain way with my parents, I'd be like, Anthony, watch it. You know, we really balance each other out. So the whole drive there, when I'm thinking about how to deal with my brother not being there, when I'm like trying to take this in and trying to think, like I knew he died, but when I'm trying to like think about what it's gonna be like when I get there, you know, have to deal with my parents being a mess, being heartbroken, being told their son died. Like I didn't even know what had happened. I was just thinking like, I know this happened. Like I knew it by the way that my mom sounded in the background, by the way that my dad sounded on the phone, and the only person she would be talking about that has allergies is my brother, because pretty bad allergies. He would like break out in hives and stuff. And so I'm driving from Hemet to Lake Elsinore. It's like a 45-minute drive, and an hour to 45 minutes. And try not to speed. And I'm just praying, and I'm in shock, and I'm kind of crying, but I'm kind of not, and I'm thinking like, okay, I need to be strong. I need to be the strongest that I've ever been. And when I need the person that understood me the most, when I need to call the person that had my back in family situations, or that basically the people that I needed that I didn't have for a long time, or like my brother, who, you know, he was always like the nice one and always like the helpful one, and I didn't have him and I couldn't call him, and I was scared to even like attempt to call his phone because I knew. And so I remember turning the corner of my parents' house and seeing the cop car in front of the house. And like my brother and I were both in Sheriff Explorers when we were younger. So I knew that like the lights were off on the cop car, and it was just sitting in front of the house. And like you don't turn off the cop car. Like you leave it on like, you know, standby, or like, you know, if something crazy had happened and he was just in trouble, the lights would have probably been on there. It would have probably been in the front yard. And they, you know, or more likely they probably wouldn't have been there by that time that I got there. I remember before I turned the corner, I was like praying like, God, please let those lights be on. Please. I knew in my heart, but I was still asking God to please let me be wrong. pulled in, and I didn't want to walk up. God, it took every ounce of me to get out of that car. I just kept doing it, and like my mind was saying like, don't go there, don't go into the house. And I was just keep going. I unbuckled, and I'm like telling myself at the same time, like, hurry up and get in the house. Go run up to that door. Oh, and I remember going up to the front door and opening it and seeing like the coroner detective and seeing like the other deputy there and the chaplain. And I remember like looking at my parents, and I can describe the faces that they had. I could describe the expressions on their face. And it was like they wanted to console me, but they needed me. You know, like they were gonna tell me something, and they wanted to be strong for me, but really they needed me. And so my mom told me that my brother died, and I didn't know how to take it. I was like, what? Like I didn't get it. And then my dad was crying, and my dad doesn't really ever cry. And it's a really sad sound to hear your dad cry. It's sad to hear your parent, anybody that you love, cry. But for me, hearing my dad cry was I never heard him cry like that before. And I just knew I had to be strong for them. I knew that that was my role in the situation, was to be there for my parents. And I had to be there by myself, because my guy, the one that's always there for me, even though he's my little brother and he was so much younger than me, we had gone through pretty much every experience, you know, together, except for, you know, when I couldn't be with him. You know, there was even a short time when he moved out and he lived with me and in Hemet, you know, when Ava was a baby. And he would put on like these little light shows for her, and, you know, and I got to be his big sister again for like we were when we were little. And so I wanted to cry, and I was trying to figure out my emotions, and my mom was just, it was bad. I remember telling my mom, she was crying in the bathroom, in the guest bathroom. I remember telling my mom, you can't question this because it's not an act of man. At the end of the day, both life and death are acts that God performed. It's just, for me, it's not a question. I never questioned it. I don't feel it's ever been my place in my life growing up. I always felt like, who am I to question my God? Who am I to do that? That's not my place. It's not my place. If that's what he wanted, that's what was going to happen. And I find comfort in that, in knowing that there's a plan that I don't need to question. It's his plan, and that made me feel okay. Because in the car, when I was at that light, it wasn't why for me. It was, maybe I'm wrong, God. Maybe you didn't take him. But if you did, make me okay. Make me be able to handle this. And, you know, I told my mom that, like, it happened for a reason. You know, as weird and as crazy as that sounds, it's not. To me, it's not in my hands. It's not in our hands. You know, if God wants be gone at any moment. That's his plan, and that's not for me to question. So I really dove into my faith and remembered who I am even more after this happened, after my brother passed away. I really, it pushed me to be me, because I knew that with him dying, I lost a really big part of me. And I wanted to keep as much of me as I was getting back. And I know that there's parts of me that I couldn't imagine being with anybody else, even my little sister. Because there's memories that we built together, there's things, jokes, whatever. There was a person that I could be with him that I couldn't be with anybody else. There was a person that was silly in the biggest way possible, the goofiest way possible. And I was just getting myself back. And I lost him, and I lost some of me again. So now we're planning this funeral for my brother. And it's like, you know, when something big happens in your family, you guys come together. But it wasn't the same, because we're missing, you know, we're missing a team member. We're missing a key player. And I remember when we were sitting around, like, picking his urn and, like, picking the little memorial cards. I heard, like, the door, like our gate, when you went, the front door of my parents' house, when you, like, grab the gate, it kind of, like, shakes. It's, like, loud. And we're all sitting there, like, me, my dad, my mom, and then the guy that's, you know, doing the arrangements. And I heard it. And, like, for a split second, I remember thinking, like, there's Anthony. Because he wasn't there. And he was always kind of, like, the one popping up, like, I'll be right there, Marka, you know. And I heard it, and, like, for a split second, I thought that was him. And that moment just solidified that I wasn't getting my buddy back. So my parents they went through a really tough time, and so did I. And I stayed at my mom's house from then on. I remember us being all at the house and not really talking. It was like when we were in the same room together, we didn't always say anything to each other because we were trying to figure out how to deal with this. And then I remember, for the most part, we really weren't together. We were like, everybody was in separate rooms, really. That's just really how it was. Like, we would try to come into the same room, but we just couldn't stay there. I would be in one room, my mom would be in another room, and my dad would be in another room. My little sister, she really clung to my dad a lot. But I remember when my mom told her. I think that was probably, I couldn't do anything for her. I couldn't. You know, my brother was really close to her because that was her sibling. You know, I wasn't really around when she was growing up. I was moved out. I was being, you know, grown up. I was having my own kid. I wasn't really there for her like he was. And I just remember her, like, running from room to room, like, trying to be consoled There was obviously a lot of people around. She was going like hugging my mom and crying. It was just crying really bad, and she'd go to like my dad and cry. She'd come running to me. She'd go running to like the neighbor, and it was like she didn't know how to handle it. Like this little kid is like trying to understand what's going on, and she didn't know how to deal with it, and none of us could really like deal with it either. So we eventually all ended up in counseling, and my parents got divorced, and it was a really bad divorce, and it really broke my heart. And again, nothing was the same. I didn't have that family. It was just gone.